Today we're going to show you an easy way to stack a cake that's very reliable, very quick, and you can do it by yourself. What I've done is I've taken a board like this, and all I've done is covered it with foil. You can use the boards without covering them with foil. This one I just covered with foil. And you notice that it has a hole in the center. We'll use that as our center stability point for our cake. I took the board, I put the cake on the top of the board. And then what we're going to do is put this 3/4 inch dowel rod down through the center. If you're familiar with it, you can just kind of poke it down through. If it's something that you're starting and learning with, the easiest thing to do is lift the cake, and you'll have a hole in the center. Take your dowel rod, and just feel with your fingers where that center hole is, and then just push it up on through. Sometimes it's easier to twist. And we'll come right to the top. You can easily just wipe that little bit of cake off. Alright. Our next cake is this one. We're doing a 3-tier cake. It just happens to be round. So what we're going to do is it is frosted and on a board, just like one of these. It could be thick or thin, it can be any shape, on a thin round board like this. We're going to decide what size of support that we need. Just kind of gently measure through the top, and this one seems to be pretty good size. There's about 1 inch around each corner. I could even in a pinch go down to something like this, but that's kind of pressing it because there's about 2 inches there. About 1.5 inches to 1 inch is the best area to do. What we need to do then is, this cake is going to be on here. We're going to measure how deep our cake is. So we take one of our 1/4 inch dowel rods, measuring with my thumb how deep the cake is. There's a little bit of thickness here, so we want to make sure that when we're cutting, we cut a bit narrower and shorter. So I like my cakes to set in, so I'm going to cut it about this much smaller. My nail is where the depth of the cake is, and this is making it a little bit smaller. I have 6 leg supports, so I'm going to need 6 legs. There's 1. You always want to measure from the top, measure from the first one, and cut. Always go back and measure from the first one so that you don't have any leg creeping. It's 4, 2 more, 5, 1 more, and all I'm doing is that's 6. We're going to put our feet into this, and I'm just going to take a little dab of buttercream off the top so that in case the foot's a little bit loose, it won't go sliding out. You can also just pipe it in from a piping bag. You could use piping gel if you're doing a fondant cake and don't have buttercream around. Again, it's just something to give it a little bit more glue for the foot to go in, because all wooden dowels are not the same size. Okay. Turn it over on my table and make sure everything is level and that I cut it correctly. Now I'm going to take this. Oops. Need a little more frosting. everything's good. I'm going to take this and I'm going to thread it over the top of my board, of my dowel rod. I'm going to center it. And I'm going to make sure that my dowel rod is upright and that it didn't happen to lean a little bit. So I look, make sure everything's good. And I can always take a ruler and just measure to make sure that my spots are all good. 6 and 7, we're going to move just a little bit, and we can do this. Your cake is going to easily cover that if you remember that part. And once you get this part done, the rest is simple. Alright, I'm going to push in about 1 inch, just slightly. The cake's going to hold it in place, and we'll show you why in just a moment. Now I'm going to take my cake. This again, the cake is filled and crumb coated and is on a board. I just frost it on top of a piece of wax paper so it's easier to lift off. And we have a little hole in the bottom of the board, and all I'm going to do is use my fingers to hold the dowel rod and figure out where that hole is. Alright, we slide it down through. And then I just look to make sure I haven't moved that dowel rod much. And here I can just easily take my fingers out, the weight of the cake. I'll take it down. I don't have to worry about brushing. I'm going to take 2 smaller dowel rods toward the center and just push and push. That makes it secure. And I'm ready for my next layer. Here's my next layer. This is a 6-inch, and it could have this, which is a 5-inch. It could have a 4-inch, and in a pinch, a 3-inch, but I would suggest more the 4 or 5-inch. You could also use a 6-inch, but the little peaky edges might just peek out a little bit. So I suggest a 5 or 4-inch. We're going to repeat that previous step. So let's stick in, kind of toward the center, where it won't be showing. Mark with my thumb where the cake is, and then cut about that much difference. Always measure from the first one. This time we still need 6. The nice part about this system is that you don't have 20 different holes in your cake. You only have 6. When you're using very large cakes, sorry, 15 and 16-inch cakes, there may be 2 more supports for the center to give you a little bit better. But again, you're just using a few. Alright, we're going to repeat what we did before. A little bit of glue, just to make sure it sticks in. If you prefer a piping bag to do this, not a problem. Didn't get much. There we go. Again, turn it over, put it on our table, and make sure that it's level. And it is. Alright. Take this, thread it down over my cake. Make sure things are looking pretty level, pretty straight. The center wooden dowel rods don't always stay straight because they're made of wood. So I always check to make sure we are still aligned. And we're good. Again, we're going to just push it in maybe about an inch or so. And be a little more because it's a shorter cake. Smaller cake. And again, I'm just going to take the cake, peel off the wax paper. Now, this cake is going to have a topper on it, so I don't care if this post comes through it. If this cake did not have a topper, I would cut it about here so that it didn't go through the top of the cake and have any holes there. But we're going to have a topper. So, again, just a little hole in the bottom of the board. We're going to find it with our fingers, and we're going to let it go right on top, like that. Just letting it guide down. It's looking good. Alright. Again, take these. Push. And it's secure. Easily take the top, just like that. And there we have a stacked cake.